Welcome. I came out of here from the mines. You can see a little dust still on me. Yeah, I'm the mine foreman back in the 1870s and 1880s. And today we're going to talk a little bit of how we did it. But before we get there, I got a couple things I would like to share with you. I'm going to have at least one cohort in the building that's helping me, Cliff Bandringa right here. If you want to find Cliff anywhere else beside today, go to back roads west and you'll find Cliff. He does a lot of tours around the west, old mining towns, as well as a lot of other places. Very interesting guide. You can find him there. But he's going to be helping me, and I might have another guy come in, one of the miners. And anyway, I think we got to, yeah, okay. We'll turn those down a little bit when we get this going. But so I'm Glenn. We'll try to make this entertaining. If I see anybody going to sleep in the back of the room, I'm going to wake them up. I do have one other fellow in the room that's going to help me mine, and that's Dave Stapp, but he's not going to come by the name of Dave when we get ready for him. All right, well, you'll find him when he gets up here. All right, we'll go in and we're going to talk first about where, get you oriented. Where are these mines? I'm talking about the mining men in Silver Reef, Utah, not the mining men anywhere else. So we're going to talk about how we did it, why we did it, what we got out of it. So I'll try to make that so it's something you want to see. But right here, as you see, this is our first deal, but I want to tell you what we're mining. Mining the Springdale sandstone. And I'm probably going to put this mic down if you can hear me. Then I can use both hands. I got to use both hands because I don't talk that well. I can do a lot of. Let's just see if this works. Can you hear me back there? Yep. All right, we'll keep that volume up, hopefully. Right here, see this? Springdale sandstone, that nice layer right there. If we go one more shot, you're going to see a little bit, oops, I'm going the wrong direction. We can do that though and get the right direction. Here's the Springdale sandstone up close and personal. I can't hit the right button as it was. There we go. This is the Springdale sandstone as you approach Zion National Park. And it's nice in a level formation. It heads out into Colorado. It goes over into Nevada. So it's not just an isolated piece. It's a few million years old, maybe 195 would be more appropriate. I always say close to 200 million years old. Age of dinosaurs. That was when it was put down in an inland sea connected to the Pacific Ocean before all this got uplifted. But we're mining in the Springdale sandstone. And when you look at mining in the Springdale sandstone, you're mining in the virgin anticline. In fact, we're sitting in the virgin anticline.
Where is that?
Yeah. There's an anticline looking right across Quail Lake. And right there is the apex of the anticline. Anticline was, the earth got shoved sideways here, made a big old hump in the earth's surface. The top of that hump is right across Quail Lake. And we are over on the northwestern side of this anticline. So this is where this slope comes down. All of these pieces of sedimentary deposits got shoved up. And we're going to go find out where that is. How about right there? We're looking at the Springdale sandstone on what we call the White Reef. White Reef is just right across the way here. We can go out the back door here and see it. It's a big, long piece of uplift. So this side of the anticline came up like this. And we pushed it hard enough, it came apart. And we're right here. Oops. Yeah, thanks. we are right here, probably sitting above a fault that's between two pieces of the Springdale sandstone. So we're going to see how that works here just really quick. Where we were just looking was right here. That's the uplift we were looking at. This is called the White Reef. How many people know why the sandstone uplift is called the reef? Reefs were limestone out of the seas. Sandstone, barriers to travel. Anytime you hit a cliff and you can't get the wagon over, you got to go out around it. Out here in the West, we just called them reefs. They were barriers to travel. They had nothing to do with reefs in the ocean. Think of Capitol Reef National Park. All right. Anyway, that's where we're at. And if we look at this really, really close, we're seeing a white reef. This thing is quite long. Behind me, it's over every bit as long going the other direction. That's kind of headed northeast direction. And so if we go to the next piece, we're going to see two reefs. We're going to see the White Reef, and here's where we were, right up here. And right down here, you're going to see the rest of it. And you're going to see another one that looks just like it. It's called the Buckeye Reef. And the Buckeye Reef comes down here, it kind of gets married into the White Reef. Like I said, same piece of rock, got shoved up, got pushed apart. Right down through the middle here is a fault. So that's what we're looking at, that's where we're at, and that's what we're mining. 465 openings out here in these hills were closed. 465 openings in the 1990s to make them safe so people didn't get in the old mines. Anyway, these hills in this area and this area and down in this flat and on the flat in the back have holes all over them, like Swiss cheese. We've been all over there. Well, I'm going to get into a piece here pretty quick where we can tell you how we did it. Before I do that, where are you at with all this? Well, if this is a topographic map, this is the town of Leeds right here. Town of Leeds. Here's the way you got up here to us. You came up this road down here. That's where we're at right now. So the Buckeye Reef, the White Reef is right here. The Buckeye Reef's right here. And then there's a kind of a point of the Buckeye Reef that got shoved up called Tecumseh Hill. So probably one of the most concentrated mining areas in this whole district was Tecumseh Hill. But then all down along the Buckeye Reef, all down along the White Reef. You can see here some shafts that were shown on the old topographic map, but and many of the shafts were not production shafts. Many of them were just tunnels, if you will. I'll call them adits. They went into the mine, into the hillside to find out where the ore was. We didn't drill to find out where the ore was back then. We didn't have that. So they had to actually mine to find out where the ore was. So we'll talk about that in just a second of how we did it. Hey, there's an opening. That's a mine opening. And in this hill that you're seeing this opening, there were many openings. So here we got a mine opening to go in to the ore zone. And as we get in there, we'll explore enough to decide whether it's worth mining. So we get in a tunnel like that, and like I said, I call it an adit. A single tunnel going into an ore zone is an adit. Okay, once I get in there, then we got to figure out how we're going to get the dang ore up. But we get this tunnel, we go to the next one, and we're going to see another tunnel, a vertical tunnel called a shaft. So here's a shaft, and we would have hoisted the ore out of that shaft. That shaft and that opening happened to be connected. Same ore body. Where did they mine it? One more shot, and you're going to see something. This is the hillside. The tunnel is right down here. The shaft is right down here. The tunnel we were looking at was right over here. Look at this. There's a vertical collapsed edge to the mining area. There's another vertical collapsed edge to the mining area. All of this area, all this rubbleized sandstone is rubbleized because it looked like this originally, had that nice cap rock on it. They mined it all out. And as they mined it all out, it collapsed. We call that subsidence. We subsided the surface, good 10 to 15 feet. It was a good ore zone. It was good enough we took it all. And we took it all without anything caving in on us because we had a good way of doing it. So we're going to talk about how we did it here just a second. But there's a good close-up of that area, the edge of the area where they took all the ore out. Once they got to this area, the ore was not rich enough to continue mining. So they got the heck out of here, went down the ridge and found another pocket of ore that was good enough to mine. And another pocket of ore would have been something like this. Silver, a lens, a pod, some silver in this upraised sandstone that was there in enough quantity to mine. We weren't mining pure silver, we were mining horn silver. That's silver chloride. So it was a compound of silver. Think of it as a silver salt. Sodium chloride is the salt you use at home. Silver chloride is the salt that was in this hill. So that's what we're mining. We get 20 ounces a ton of 20 ounces of silver out of a ton of rock. It's worth going for. So that's what we were doing back then. And if I go to here, I kind of can explain how we're mining. And I'm going to, as soon as I give you a little idea here, I'm going to get a helper up here to give you an idea how we actually did it. Anyway, right here is an adit, a single tunnel going into the ore zone. There's that kind of lens that was in there that we're getting at. Well, we went in there, mined through it. We started out on the back side and we started mining right down there. Well, every time we blast, that stuff would come right down into my adit and out it would go and dump into a wagon, okay? And then it got deep enough, we got down below the valley floor here, we had to drill a shaft. Well, this is a shaft over here. It wouldn't have been like the one we did here, but we would have drilled a shaft down here, gone over like this into this ore zone, got on the back side of it and blasted and raised incline or a winze up along the ore body. And as all that stuff rubbleized, it came down into our crosscut, here's what it called, or tunnel, and we would have hauled it to the shaft and hoisted it. So that's what we were doing. I gave you an idea how this was all done. I think I have a Jack in the room. Hey, Jack, come up here. Oh, there he is. All right. My buddy, he's Jack. I'm a Jack. We're both Jacks because that was Cornish miners. But guess what? I've got a big Jack. I needed him.
There's my paw.
Yeah, he can do more work than I can. So I buddied up with a guy that can really do it. Now what's he doing? Well, he came in here with this thing in his hand. Tell me what you're doing with this dang thing.
Well, I'm doing what you told me to. Now I'm just knocking off all that loose rock in the ceiling of these tunnels here.
Yeah, you got a scaling bar.
This thing is pretty heavy too.
Is it pretty heavy? Solid piece of iron.
Solid, yeah.
That's what
Absolutely.
that's been around a while. I think that piece came out of one of these mines 145 years ago.
It's got some miles on it.
Yeah. Well, that's what he was doing, but I've got to, hey, it's time to put him to real work. Let's put that thing down.
Man, I kind of like it.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. You got to earn your $4 today.
Oh boy.
I got this. This is mine. You get the dang sledgehammer.
Why?
Because you're going to drill some holes.
Oh.
And I'm going to help you.
Well, this ain't nice either.
That's kind of heavy, isn't it?
For
10, 12 pounds? Oh, no. we're drilling holes.
Oh.
And I'm gonna be, and we're 2 jacks. That's called double jacking.
I thought I was Jack.
Yeah, and I'm a jack.
Well,
Jacks for Cornish miners. We called all of us guys
okay,
jacks.
very good.
All right. Do we have jacks around today?
Probably,
Jackhammers?
yeah.
Anybody know? That's where the term comes from. All right. We have jack legs that we use jackhammers to support. Came from the Cornish jacks. Okay?
I've operated some of those too.
Okay. I'm going to turn this thing, and then you're going to hit it, and we're going to drill a hole. And then when you do that, I'll turn it again.
Okay.
And after you get tired enough, and you're going to have to go pretty good because that's why I got you here. You're bigger and stronger than me. I will trade off just enough to give you a rest.
What if I miss?
That's when I get to get even,
Oh.
when we trade off. All right, so don't miss. All right, so we're drilling the holes. We're going to drill a whole pattern of them. We're probably going to drill, maybe a dozen holes in this piece of rock. It's called the face of my mining area. We'll drill those holes. We're going to load them up with blasting powder. What kind of blasting powder are we going to use?
Probably black powder.
Black powder. It comes in cartridges just like cheaper than the dynamite. And it does a neat job with sandstone. It blocks it right up. We used all those blocky sandstone pieces up here to build our town out of the mines. But anyway, we're going to drill a bunch of holes, load them with sand. Anyway, I don't have anything to put this up against. You're not going to get to do that today. All right. Well, now, as we load that, you can put that dang hammer away. We're going to load the holes with dynamite. Cartridges, 6 inches long, probably put them in all of our holes, dozen or so holes. We have a pattern of holes right in the middle of the mining face. And we load those up with, 4 or 5 sticks. They're 3-foot deep holes, and we pound them in with a nice wooden rod so we don't have any sparks to ignite that black powder, and that's called a tamping rod. We tamp that in, and we get all of them in. The last one has a couple half inches of a fuse on it, and we put the darn cartridge in there with a fuse on it. The ones in the middle have short fuses. The next ones are all around those ones in the middle, and they have longer fuses. The last 4 are the corners, the top corners, the bottom corners. They have the longest fuses. So as we pop those in there, slam it shut with a piece of stemming clay dummy. A clay dummy, just like a piece of black powder in a cartridge, but it's clay. And we pound that in good so we don't shoot the black powder out the hole like a rifle. And then we light the fuses and get the heck out of the mine.
Real quick.
Yeah. So it's the end of shift. We got our, 16 tons, and what do you get? Another day older and deeper debt. Well, that's the coal mining. We didn't quite get 16 tons a day out of this. Probably between 5 and 10 out of each shot that we did. So if we were mining several places, we could probably load more ore. But we probably did this work in our shift. Next shift would have been loading the ore into the ore cars and getting it out. 1-ton cars. So if we had 10 tons, we'd had 10 cars coming out. So that's what we were doing. Well, go home. You got done with your and he's got a bigger shovel than I got because he can handle a bigger one.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But they earn their money. $4 a day. Not too bad.
Yeah, that was the highest paid daily wage at the time. $4. $1 a day. That's what you got when you're a laborer. So the miners were rich. That's why we had saloons in town. Somebody had to mind the miners. All right. Well, that's what we did. I'm going to go show them where the ore went. So you're done with your shift. Thanks.
Okay. Take care.
All right, we're going to keep going here, find out what happens to this ore. Here you're going to visit a mine. This is an actual mine we've been in, and as we do this, we're going to see what one looks like. There's a vertical shaft inside the mine. Here's the adit we're going in. We get into the adit, we go to where we turn right and left, and that's a crosscut. That's a hoisting incline that went down, a tunnel that went down. Now you see they're not very wide, just wide enough to get the rails in, an ore car through, and that's how we mined it. And so as you go down this mine and go through it, you'll find there are other openings in the mine. As soon as we punch back out to the surface, we have got new fresh air. So we are going to go through, you can see this on this particular video, and you can go onto our website and get this. Backroads West got it, so you can find this video in several places. We were in there and we narrate what you're seeing. So, but now we're going to get this darn ore out of here and get it to the mills. So what we did is hauled it with wagons. So we got wagons here and wagons there. Those wagons were dual purpose. Those wagons probably hauled wood into this mine site for the steam boilers, as well as the ore away from it. This happens to be the Savage Mine. The Savage Mine was one of those mines below the Buckeye Reef. They had to go down below the valley floor to catch up with the ore, and they hauled the ore with these wagons to the mills. This particular mine was one of the bigger mines. There's very few of those here that had actually steam power and a steam hoist. You can see the wire rope going over the head frame down into the mine. They would hoist the buckets right there, loaded the wagons. The wagons went to a mill site. Here's a mill site. When you're looking here, up here, there was a hoisting works. And because this was at the Barbie Walker Mill, this upper level was where we had stamps. Stamps is what we used to crush the ore. And below it, on this level, we had the mullers and the pans that we ran the crush ore in a muddy slurry. And from there, we amalgamated the silver, and we had a retort down below to drive off the mercury and recover the silver as bullion. So if you really want to know how all that works, we can really go into detail in the museum. But I'm just here today to talk about mining, but I thought to tell you where all this ore went. So there's a close-up of that mill site, and you can see that right out here over on the adjacent road, and there's a part of our walking tour, there's an oversight of that mill site, and that's what's left of it. Most of all of our buildings got repurposed. You know, the stone went down to new buildings, the wood did too. So the town disappeared when it became a ghost town. As we keep going here, that's the mill that you saw in the front. That's the site that you're looking at. That's the hoisting works. That's the steam boiler. The stamps are in here. The mullers and pans are in here. And if we go to the next site, that's the stamp mill. 10 stamp mills, 10 of those things, each of them weighing 600-800 pounds, pounding the heck out of the ore. And so the ore is fed in, hoppers behind here. These things are lifted by cams, steam engine that powers the bull wheel here that turns the cams and lifts each one of them and allows them to drop. So once that stuff's crushed into a powder, it's washed out from under the stamp, and that's how it gets into the pans. So and there's pans. That's big vats, obviously not here. Look at all these nice pine trees. Anyway, but it was those kind of vats. They could have been wooden, they could have been metal, but probably had metal bottoms. We used steam to heat up the vats so we could dissolve the silver chloride a little easier. So, but that's a good idea of how they constructed some of those old pans or vats that they used back in those days. And we heated the amalgam that we ended up in the process with charcoal. Most of your mining sites will have many of these. That's a kiln to make charcoal. And they have many of them because they're brown smelters and they have to actually melt the ore. Here we're just melting amalgam, and we're only getting 20 ounces a ton, so we don't need a lot of charcoal to melt. So this one kiln supplied probably all 5 of the mills here. And so it was a little easier process milling and smelting.
Where is that mill?
It's right up the canyon, a couple miles, and you go up here and 2 miles, turn right, and you go up another 1.5 miles or so, and you're right at the kiln site. And you'll notice it because it's called I think a children's forest. Yeah. So anyway, it's a nice little hike down there. It's pretty close, a few hundred yards, and it's a pretty little place to go visit. All right, here we go. I'm just switching gears. What was different between the old mines and the new mine? Well, I'm not going to steal his thunder. I'm going to let Brian tell you a little bit about mining today, but I want to point out something here. See right down here? That's a haul truck. That gives you an idea how big this place is. There's some of them, maybe 100 tons or more per vehicle. Tires are a lot taller than I am, and it just gives you a perspective of how different it is, because one of those haul trucks, you put it up there where that hoisting shaft was for that old mill site we saw, and it'd be just as big as that hoisting building. So it's a whole different world today, and so we want to transfer from then to now. Well, somebody had a better way of doing it than we do it today. There's one of the largest open pits in the world. It's called the Grand Canyon. And they mined the heck out of that place. Naturally, of course. All right, well, I'm going to turn this over to Brian, and Brian can tell you a little bit about his background. He is our president of the Mining Association, and we really appreciated their help when we put the replica mine in the museum. So if you haven't seen it, we do have a little replica mine in the museum, and you can see a little better how it really looks. So thanks for coming today. Brian?